Okay, we are live. It is Friday, February 7th, 2025 at 5:01 p.m. I hope you all had a good week. And here we are in Vault 11. This is the subject of the upcoming lore video. I was here filming a couple days ago. I actually just finished the script yesterday, and you should be able to expect this video by Friday of next week. It's one of those things where it's like, typically speaking, I've been... Hey there, Southern Modeler 29. Happy Friday to you. It's typically been the case that I've been releasing these videos as soon as they're done. But that's because I'm always running behind schedule. And my goal here is now to try to actually create a proper schedule and get these things out on a regular basis. So, Vault 11 video will come out again next Friday. And then I'm hoping... Oop, stuck? Yes, I'm stuck. Well, nope, there we go. Then I'm going to have the next Fallout New Vegas lore video out by 2 Fridays after that. So, two Fallout New Vegas lore videos in February, and then along with that, next week I'm also going to have 2 other videos. One of them is going to be a channel update, because I haven't produced one since, I think, like, August of 23 or something like that. Let me actually check that real quick. I don't have that information off the top of my head. I know it was before the Fallout TV show came out, but that's not really saying much, because I mean, the Fallout TV show started April of last year. So, but regardless, gonna have a channel update video, and well, I don't know. I was hoping to be on the front page, but it's apparently not when I'm looking at it on my app on the phone. But anyway, so channel update, and then along with that, there's going to be the first video in the series where I'm playing through the Dragon Age games. I have completed the filming of that. I'm in the process of editing it. It is a 2.5 hour long raw video currently, just to get from the start of the game up to arriving at Ostagar. So I've got to work that thing down a bit, and I might need to split it. I don't know. I'll figure it out exactly what I'm going to do with that. But regardless, that's in process. And then something else I will also be announcing with the channel update video is that I'm going to produce at least one Surveil video in Fallout 76 this month, just because that's a series that I've kind of gotten away from, and I need to get back to it because there are been some areas that have changed significantly, and I need to talk about them. So, but anyway, so yeah, again, like I said, I finished the script for this section yesterday. There is still a little bit of filming I need to do. Most of it I actually already have done, but specifically it's for quests. Like, for the quest Still in the Dark with the Brotherhood of Steel, where you have to come to Vault 11 hunting for the differential pressure controller. And then along with that, there's also the quest for Sarah Weintraub in Vault 22, where you're simply... It's not even something that's specifically directed at Vault 11, it's just that she's looking for vault suits. And so, the place to get vault suits is vaults. And one of the places that actually has a lot of vault suits is Vault 11, so I'll be showing that. Along with that, there is also one final quest in this area, but it's literally just explore the vault, because it's democracy in action, and that's one word, in action. Talking about basically what happened to the vault here. And so yeah, I don't really even... I'll mention the fact that that quest is here, but just simply telling the story of the vault is really that quest, so... what else, though? But yeah, I still haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do. Like I said, vault jumpsuits here, there's a lot of them. Basically, every one of these dressers has one. I'm willing to bet some of the lockers do too. Not that one. Anyway, though. So yeah, expect that by next Friday. And then after that, there's basically 2 options that I'm working through to figure out exactly what the next video is going to be covering. It could be potentially that it covers the 188 trading post, or it could be that it covers Boulder City. I'm not sure just yet which one it's going to be, specifically just because both of those got equivalent numbers of votes on the Discord and on the Patreon page. So I'm going to have to figure out which one to cover. And at this point, it really could be either, because I made an announcement to my patrons that effectively I would be picking whichever one I could get out fastest. Basically the one that covers the least amount of material, because I'm trying to get into a proper schedule. And like this month, I entered in with a 5-day backlog, because it took me longer to produce the Slavery in the Capital Wasteland video than I had anticipated. So I want to make sure that I don't enter March with yet another backlog. So that's my current goal, is get into March on a proper schedule, already be producing March's videos in February, you know? With the goal being 2 videos a month, except when it's a significant topic, and by significant I mean like there's just an enormous amount of content, like covering one of the cities in Starfield, for example. So the 188 trading post, I don't even know if they say this in game, but I was realizing this today, is so named because it is at the confluence of Highway 95 and Highway 93, which together add up to 188. The funny thing, and it's kind of disappointing that it's gone now, was for a while there, this is a real spot on the map. And for a while there was an actual note on Google Maps where it would list this as a trading post. It's gone now, at least the last time I checked. And maybe I just didn't see it because there's some sort of setting that I had turned on or something like that. But regardless, it had little funny Fallout New Vegas related comments on it and stuff like that. But kind of frustratingly, and again, this is like a stupid thing to be frustrated about, but I think it's highway... Is it I-10? No. Is it I-10? Well, there's a interstate highway. Let me open up my Google Maps on my phone here, and I can look for it. There's an interstate highway that runs right across, and in the real world there's a bridge in front of Hoover Dam. There wasn't originally the bridge, the Hoover Dam itself was the bridge for a long time. But there's now an interstate highway bridge that runs in front of the Hoover Dam. And let me find real quick here. Is it I-10? It looks like... Sorry, 1 second here. Is it I-40? No. Sorry for this. It's I-11. So there's this... I-11 runs right past it, and so 95 runs up, hits I-11, and then on the north side of that it turns into 173, and then it reaches 93. So there's this little tiny stretch in between I-11 and 93 that is now Highway 173. So it unfortunately kind of ruins the 188 trading post name. But yeah, so again, either the second video for this month will either be covering the 188 trading post, or I'll be covering Boulder City. And who knows, maybe if I end up with enough time, I'm not promising anything here, but I could end up producing both of them. We'll see. I have actually been kind of in a writing frenzy for the past couple of days to where I produced a script significantly faster than I normally would, so we'll see what happens with that. And it hardly depends on, like, let's say I were to start the 188 trading post video, like, tomorrow. It's like, if I get the script done in, like, 2 days, then yeah, I could easily see myself doing a video on the other one as well. But again, I want to enter a point where I've got an actual schedule, where I've got content ready to be released that's simply just not out yet to the general public. And minor incentive here for if you're interested in supporting the channel financially, it will be available to channel members, and I will also, every video I produce, I always put out an ad-free version, a link to an ad-free version to all my patrons, so they'll be able to watch them early. I would guess that I'm going to probably have the Vault 11 video done by Monday. I don't see anything stopping that from happening, but you never know what's going to happen. So, what else? I've already talked about this before. March is going to be Fallout 4, April is going to be Fallout 76, and May is going to be Starfield. So I will put out the next poll on the Discord and on the Patreon page probably tomorrow, having basically gotten to the point where I no longer need votes on which videos to cover here. Yeah, Fallout Cascadia, I've seen a few shots of that. It looks interesting. At some point, I really actually do kind of want to play Fallout London, just because it's like, yeah, I'm not ever going to make any like actual lore video content on it or anything like that. But the amount of work that people have put into that has been kind of incredible, and it's one of those things where I kind of feel like I need to reevaluate my policy about playing mod content. Specifically, just I'll have to find some way to make sure that I don't ever have any of that content cross over into my normal filming. So I'll figure out exactly what I have to do with that. But hey, it's one of those things where it's like I'm realizing that I have a limited amount of time in terms of what I can actually do every month. And so when I was writing up the script for my channel update video, I was like, oh yeah, I can do another video in like one of these other series. And I'm like, no. If I'm going to be producing videos on Fallout, and if I'm going to be producing videos on Dragon Age, and I'm going to be making a Surveil video, if I try to add something else to that, something is going to get lost in the mix. So Basically, I've decided that once I finish my run through the Dragon Age series, then I will move on to doing additional other series. But for now, it's just going to be lore videos, surveil videos, and Dragon Age videos. So I'm looking forward to getting through the Dragon Age series, because if I haven't mentioned it before, I've been through the first one entirely. I've been through part of the second one. I've beaten Inquisition, and I've not even touched Veilguard yet, so we'll see. Apparently, yeah, I saw that. Planned DLC for Fallout London. I know, it's very strange to see DLC for a mod. It's going to be interesting to see exactly what comes with that. I've seen a lot of interesting stuff with Fallout London. And, I mean, there's been plenty of other Fallout mod projects that have been interesting to me. Fallout Cascadia is one of them. I've seen some people have been putting together something in terms... I think that the one that was like Fallout California or something like that, I think that one was canceled. I can't remember. I remember that there were people putting together something where they were trying to make Fallout 1 and 2, I think in the Fallout New Vegas engine, and I think... I don't know. Some of these projects have been canceled just because people, I think, underestimate the amount of work that goes into actually, like, building a full-sized game like this. And, I mean, you look at things like the Elder Scrolls mods like Sky Oblivion and what's the other one? Skywind. And all of them, they take an enormous amount of effort. I've been happy to see that the Skywind one actually seems to be approaching completion. Just because Morrowind is, like... it was my first game in the Elder Scrolls series, and it's also easily my favorite game in the Elder Scrolls series. Nothing against Oblivion or Skyrim. I love both of those games as well. And no, I've never played Arena or Daggerfall, but Morrowind, it's one of those things where I think it hits differently when you play one of those games for the first time at 12 years old, which is what I was when I started playing Morrowind. And it was an incredible experience. And I also loved the unbound feeling that you got with things like the ability to use levitation and stuff like that. And anyway, though. So yeah, I think we've covered most of the upcoming content here. What if I'm trying to think if there's anything in the news. There's been an enormous number of leaks about the Fallout TV show. I've been trying to avoid them as much as I can. Just people have been putting up shots of the sets that they've been seeing in Hollywood. I've thought the sets look great, but again, it's one of those things where it's like I feel kind of bad even seeing them. I'm not going to talk about specifically what they were, because I don't want to give anybody any spoilers here that's trying to avoid them. So, but yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the second season. Although I will always be concerned about them basically providing any sort of canonical ending to these things. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I do want to see it, but it's also one of those things where it's like, if it's the side I don't want, we'll see. I mean, it's definitely interesting in the closing credits of the last episode of the first season. You see like a crashed vertibird in the streets of New Vegas. You don't really know exactly what that's related to. I mean, the interesting thing is that they introduced us to Robert House in the first season, so they actually have an actor for Robert House. Now, what exactly they would do with that in terms of what we'd see in the second season, I don't really know. It's interesting to consider that, given that they have an actual actor for the role, first of all, will they dress him up in the makeup that you see? Well, will they put him in enough makeup and in the right outfit to where he looks right for Fallout New Vegas? And then along with that, when they do the whole... this character's not been down there, I don't think. Not actually been to... No, hasn't been to the Lucky 38. But when you can actually go up and see the screen with the static faces of Robert House, I wonder if they would do something where you'd see like an actual animated form of Robert House's faces. Or if they would stick to the actual canonical version of things. I didn't see you there. Hey, Goodman. Hope you've been having a good week. Let's see. But yeah, so I'm definitely interested in seeing what it is that we get out of that. It's one of those things where I've seen so much mixed stuff about the airship. Come on. Got a cat in my lap now. I've been seeing mixed stuff about the airship in the first season where, like, I saw it and I read the side of it where it said Prydwen, but there are people like, no, that wasn't meant to be the Prydwen. It's like, well then, why would it say Prydwen on the side of it? Hey, Alhoon Gaming. Good to see you. Hope you've had a good week. To But basically, the fact that the Prydwen is in the first season, if it is in fact the Prydwen, implies that either that the Brother to Steel won at the end of Fallout 4, or it implies that ending where kind of there's that shared win between the Brotherhood, the Minutemen, and the Railroad. So I don't know exactly what they're going to make the ending be. I mean, again, I don't even know if that actually is the Prydwen, so it's hard to say. Let's see. Yeah, I would like to actually have it be animated, because it feels like it would be more right. It feels like it would be more in keeping with Robert House being like the leading engineer and computer scientist of his time, where it seems like it would be the sort of thing that he would have. Or if it would even be the case where it's like, oh yeah, if he would be like, yeah, before they brought that platinum chip up here, all I used to have was all these static faces, but ever since then, it's now animated as it was intended to be. That'd be kind of fun. Let's see. Good, good. I'm glad you're having a good week. Yeah. So, oh yeah, still no news on the Fallout 3, or not Fallout 3, Oblivion remake. I also am hopeful for a Fallout 3 remake. When I finished the that video on slavery in the Capital Wasteland, somebody was asking for Fallout 3 on the Switch, which, honestly, it kind of surprises me that it's not on the Switch. Fallout New Vegas as well, because they have got Skyrim on there. So, why not, right? It's one of those things where it's like, it's definitely less technically taxing to put something like Fallout New Vegas or Fallout 3 on there than it is to put Skyrim. Although it definitely would require them to put in some effort into making it work for the system, but I'm sure the hardware is not exactly the same as a PS3 or Xbox 360 like the games were originally released for. But yeah, I would hope to see at some point, and I've been kind of mixed on what I'd like to see in terms of a Fallout 3 remake. If I'd like to see it basically exactly the same but with better graphics, or if I'd like to see them actually do some sort of change to the gameplay. It's difficult to say, because I don't think it's even a questionable thing that the gunplay in Fallout 4 is far better than in Fallout 3 and in Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, New Vegas could definitely also use a remake. Again, they actually brought in people from id Software, the guys who made Doom, to actually help them with the gunplay in Fallout 4. So there's a reason why it's significantly better than 3 in New Vegas. But it's also one of those things where the gunplay and the combat in those games was definitely a part of the feel of the games. So, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think really the most important thing about those game worlds is the worlds themselves and the story, which, again, is not something that that would be changed by them changing the combat up to make it more modern and more playable. So, I don't know. I do know that there were people that were, I think they're still, I feel like I remember there being something about people working on a Fallout 3 remake within the Fallout 4 engine, but I can't remember. Is this character friendly with the, yeah.
Damn, running low on smokes again.
Huh.
Prim's got some new sheriff.
I didn't realize I had that character here that was friendly with the Powder Gangers. Let me actually take a look at this real quick. General stats here. Novak. Okay. I don't even have a Powder Ganger ranking. So, that's interesting. I don't even know how that happened. But yeah. It would be interesting to see if they were to make Fallout 3 again, if they would use that same kind of green filter over everything to make the world look the way it did. Or if they would actually just go ahead and get rid of it like they kind of did here in Fallout New Vegas. It is definitely, I do feel like the green filter thing is kind of part of the feel of the game world. But, I don't know. I've seen some shots of it where people have removed it, and it definitely looks different. It's just a question of preference, I would think, more than anything on that. But yeah. I remember playing Fallout New Vegas when it first came out. It was really, really buggy. I don't know how many of y'all played it back then, but Capital Wasteland and Project Mojave both getting made in the Fallout 4 engine. Okay, they ran into problems with the voice. They weren't allowed. Okay. That makes sense. Because, I mean, one of the things that Sky Oblivion, I think is what it was, has been running into is they basically had to remake the entire game down to all the assets, which is kind of crazy, really, to consider. I do really appreciate, though, the fact that Bethesda is much cooler on that stuff than a lot of other game studios. Like, I don't know if you all saw, but Rockstar just recently shut down a remake of, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 3, San Andreas, and Vice City, even though they were literally recreating all of the assets in there. It's just, I don't know, 2K just seems to be one of the least consumer-friendly companies out there. And I think they're also the ones that are looking to try to increase the base price of games to $100. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, Alaska Fallout would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if the weather would be cold, or if it would be just like the rest of the wasteland. It's one of those things where you never really know what to take for canon from some content. Where it's like, for example, Mothership Zeta in Fallout 3. You can see all the wasteland laid out below you, and it's all the same color as the capital wasteland, but is that really the case, or is that just something where they were basically putting together a skybox for the game, and so you got to see that version of things, but that's not really actually what they intend for the rest of the wasteland? Yeah. No, I definitely prefer playing games on the computer for one reason more than any other, and that's simply because programmers, and not even programmers, game developers make mistakes, and so you get things like, you can then go ahead and like turn on no clipping and walk right through a wall. Like the other day, actually, I had to use that when I was filming in Fallout 3, because I was in Falls Church, and I dropped off of a ledge and ended up behind a dumpster and like a little piece of junk fence, and I was stuck in that corner. So it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, technically you could fast travel away from there, but at the same time, like, without the like, if you're in combat because there's, or if you can't fast travel because there's enemies around, but in fact the enemies aren't even anywhere close to you, then you're just kind of screwed. You gotta reload an autosave or something like that. In fact, I experienced this kind of one-of-a-kind bug in Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess back on the Wii back in the day, where I was one of those rare people that managed to get the like one game-breaking bug that existed within that game, which is, I think it's in like Kakariko Village, where you go into the basement of this structure, and I completed this quest, and so it like did a save there, and then I closed the game out. And what I didn't realize at the time is that if you do that, and then you reopen the game, you are then locked in that basement, and your save is in that basement, and you cannot get out. So I basically had to restart the entire game at that point, which, yeah, I was not happy about that. Let's see. There's a remake of the old game called Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. The original, Luke shut that down as well. Yeah, that's not surprising, and especially now that Disney owns all that stuff. Disney's kind of a weird bunch, because my understanding is they are incredibly friendly when it comes to people using their stuff on YouTube, to where a lot of companies will claim stuff on YouTube, but Disney will not. But at the same time, they will definitely shut down anybody doing anything like that. Yeah, I would think Alaska should probably be cold. Oh, Cassidy Caravans. Yeah, this is part of the Rose of Sharon Cassidy quest line. At some point, I actually do really need to, like, so if we take a look at the map real quick and talk about the stuff that I've covered so far in New Vegas. I did Good Springs, Primm, Nipton, Searchlight, and Novac. Along with that, I did Repcon. Now I'm doing Vault 11, and then we're going to be doing 188 Trading Post or Boulder City, maybe both, we'll see. At some point, I will also be covering Helios 1, but I also need to cover Mojave Outpost, which I did not cover when I should have covered it somewhere over here. There's not an enormous amount of content there, but it is still something that is deserving of its own video, so at some point I will cover that. But yeah, again, other than that and Helios 1, kind of caught up to where I need to be following the path of the courier around the mountains. through the Mojave Desert.
You can hide from me.
Oh. Do I have? Yeah, I have God mode on, that's right. Just like in Fallout 3. It's not because like I was actually worried about dying or anything. It's because this character is overloaded with loot. And I don't want to take the time to go drop it off, so... Yeah. The other day for the slavery video, I had to go film in Big Mountain. And I had filmed in Big Mountain not a terribly long time ago. Can't remember why, exactly. Oh, no, it was right on the edge of my mind, but I don't remember it. But regardless, I had, you know, created a save in Big Mountain, but then I was, I don't know what happened to the saves. I think it may have been before I got this new computer, and I've had this since July of last year, I think. And so I lost that save, which, if you don't remember, when you open up, like, when you start Big Mountain, it is literally just like a good 15 minutes of videos and dialogue and stuff like that in order to get into it. And it's like, all I need, literally all I need, is a shot of a single Chinese prisoner of war wearing a slave collar. That's all I want, but I gotta go through all this again. But it's done. So I got that out. Man. That is definitely one of the minor frustrating things, is that they didn't allow you to skip the intro videos to things like Big Mountain and Honest Hearts, Dead Money, all that kind of stuff. Which, those, don't get me wrong, very interesting videos, very informative about the content you're about to experience, but at the same time, it was not something that I was interested in seeing right at that moment. Oh, it's still dark. I was trying to get to where it's light. I wasn't really thinking. But, yeah, so the other day, I finished filming all that well, I'll say 95% of the content that I needed to film for the upcoming Vault 11 video. And so with that little bit of time left over, I went into Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I've started making these little tiny short videos. I put them on my Twitter if you're interested. Basically, where it'll teach you how to make the potions that exist within the game, where you won't have to go get the recipe. It's got this kind of neat system in there where if you discover the potion recipe, then you get the recipe in your book, and you can move on with it there. So basically, it's kind of a way of cheating if you want to go and do that. You can learn how to make... I'm up to 3 things currently. One of them is the Marigold Decoction. Along with that, there's Aquavite and soap. So... if you want to learn how to make any one of those things, just to sell them, or if you need to wash your clothes, all again on the, well, X account that I have. They're little 2-minute long videos. There's not even any dialogue spoken in them. It's literally just carrying out the action of making the potion or the soap. So, what else, though? Yeah, the character I'm playing in Dragon Age Origins is an elf mage. All I've played in the past has been a human warrior. So I'm interested in seeing the exact outcome of being both a mage and an elf, given that both of them are kind of outcast. But the elves are definitely like the lowest rung of society in Dragon Age, and then along with that, mages are outcast effectively, to where it's like you either work for the Circle or you're a hedge mage, and you're viewed with fear in both cases. It's just simply when you're with the Circle, you're trusted more because. Basically, it's like, oh, yeah, the Chantry's got an eye on you. So, I'm interested in seeing exactly how both of those things affect things, and it feels like it's an interesting thing to do to be the hero of Ferelden as an elf. I feel like that has to be good for elfkind, right? To improve the view of elves within the eyes of the humans of Ferelden. So, I'll see exactly how that affects things. Looking forward to that. Again, if you weren't here earlier, I've only gotten up to Ostagar, so... not at all far into the game at all. So, and like I said, then like a 2-hour and 45-minute raw cut at that point. I'm down to 2.5 hours after editing it down for the first 45 minutes. So I have removed as many little bits that I can while still maintaining all the important stuff. So if I do cover the 188 trading post, then I will not be covering the full story of Veronica here. She will get her own video. But I will be talking about everybody else here, everything that I can learn about them in the process, all the quests that run through here, which I think there's 3 of them, but don't quote me on that. And so yeah, that's what you should look forward to for the 188 trading post. Definitely will be dealing with this little gentleman right here, the forecaster.
Be better off throwing rocks.
I don't know. Anybody have any questions, any comments, anything like that? It's been kind of an interesting week in terms of my YouTube channel. It's definitely been getting more interest than usual. Like, basically, there was a point in time right around the launch of the Fallout TV show where I got a big boost, like a 10% increase in my number of subscribers. Or more than that even. But it's been kind of quiet over the past 6 to 8 months, where I'll get little tiny boosts basically every time I release a video, but this one's actually been fairly significant. And I don't know exactly why, because it's not even like everybody's coming by to watch the Slavery in the Capital Wasteland video. It seems to have just been a general boost to the channel across the board. I don't know if it's because I hit 13,000 subscribers or what, but it's been, I hope, if there's anybody here that's new, it's good to meet you. Thanks for coming by the channel. Yeah. Hey, Horn Electron. Didn't realize that was you there for a second. I just, sometimes when I'm reading through these things, I'll ignore the person who's saying it and simply read the message, so I apologize for not seeing that was you there. If anybody here has an interest in Helldivers 2, or has played it in the past, there's a fairly major event going on there currently, where it looks like the Illuminate, the new alien enemy that has arrived, has been pushing a black hole towards Earth. So, all the combat that's taking place there currently is to forestall that black hole from actually reaching Super Earth. I love science fiction. I mean, not that kind of stuff. But it's always one of those things, too, where it's like, if there's an alien species that has the capacity to move a black hole, what kind of chance does humanity have against it? Like, yes, we created the black hole, but that was through basically sheer effort and the loss of millions of lives to do it. I'm wondering if we're going to see anything related to Elder Scrolls 6 this year. I would hope so. Sorry, one second. Just got a message from my mother. There we go. Sorry about that. Oh. I don't think I've ever realized that they actually have soldiers up there before. Can you climb these? I don't think you... No, definitely can't. I mean, I wasn't expecting to actually be able to climb it, but I was expecting it to be kind of like a door where you could click on the side of it. Yeah, I don't typically walk around the outside of Camp McCarran all that often. I didn't realize there were that many soldiers out here. Yeah, I would hope that we see something about Elder Scrolls 6. Isn't it typically in the summer where they've got some sort of event? Oh, fiends attacking, it looks like. Let's see. I think the idea that default fusion power is actually fission. Well, I think it's a mix. Well, because the biggest thing with Fallout is that fusion was basically developed very shortly before the bombs. I don't remember exactly when. I'd have to look into that to see the specifics. But fission was the main source of power for a while there, and then they got fusion like right at the very end. And yeah, mass fusion was almost entirely fission. Because and again, like I said in my video, I'm pretty sure that it was basically not even the case for a long time. That I do think they had a fusion reactor at the very end that they had within their main headquarters. But I definitely think that those power distribution boxes that they had were really just little tiny fission plants spread across the Commonwealth. But and so yeah, also the fission batteries and stuff like that, definitely obviously fission, but they weren't even pretending that that was fusion. I would expect that the fusion cores are real. Especially as they've, well, I don't know if that actually makes a difference. I was going to say, especially as they've made them rechargeable in Fallout 76.
You like the sight of your own blood?
Jeez. I just have to,
You
oh,
like
driving
the
the
sight
Phi.
of your own blood?
Or me-Phi, I should say. I think that's the actual proper pronunciation, because I think that's a Mormon name.
You like the sight of your own blood?
There we go. No more fiends. But yeah, again, I think the fusion cores are actual fusion cores. I've never really understood exactly why the cars blow up when you shoot them. Like, it's strange. Is this one possible to blow up? I don't think so. I think this one's past that point. Let's see if we can find one. I do love the meme though, where it's the guy that slaps the hood and it's like, this baby will get whatever, 30 miles to the gallon or something like that. But it's the guy slapping the car in the Fallout universe and it just explodes. But yeah, if you haven't actually taken a close look at what the signs say in Fallout 4, for example, when you're at the gas station, they're selling coolant at the gas stations, they're not selling gasoline. Which I don't really understand why you would even need gas stations at the end of the day. Whoa. Unless basically you're like letting that coolant boil off. I'm just running through fiend territory here, aren't I? Yeah, there's Violetta. A possible brain. I just melted into plasma. A possible brain for Rex. Can you still get the brain out of the pile of goo? Yes! Oh, man. Oop. Oh, big shout out from over there. But yeah, again, why would they need to constantly keep getting new coolant? It doesn't make that much sense. Again, unless they don't have a closed system. If they're actually kind of just turning their coolant to steam and letting it burn off. Which is definitely an interesting way to do things. I mean, that's kind of how things work with fission, but not even really. Because if you're not aware, fission has basically two lines of coolant. You got the inner line, which ends up being highly radioactive, and then you have the outer line that cools the inner line. And the outer line will get mildly radioactive, but it's one of those things where it's got such a short half-life that it's not really all that dangerous. Not saying you don't want to bathe in it, but there's a reason why they can put it into cooling towers, have it turn to steam, and basically go into the atmosphere. It's because by the time it gets up there, any radioactivity is gone. So I am using God mode again, but the specific reason for that is where is it? Right there, 215 out of 200 pounds. And yeah, I also have this pistol. This is what is this character's level anyway? 13, which I'll say it's higher than a lot of the times where I will have a character out here that's like level 3 or something like that, because I've needed to make a new character to do something with evil karma, like I was doing in Fallout 3 the other day for the slavery video. I've never done any, like 90% of the things I did for that video are not things I've ever done before. Specifically things like selling Brian Wilkes into slavery, selling Bumble into slavery, selling Flack and Red and Arkansas and Susan Lancaster into slavery. Cook. What a lovely person here. And yeah, don't believe that this is a playthrough where it's like, oh yeah, I'm winning this game. No, this is it's been a while since I've actually played, like literally just played Fallout 3 New Vegas or anything. Most of these days, the reason I'm in the game is because I'm doing filming. And so it's like none of these characters do I consider to be like, oh, I'm doing great here. Size EVs and apparently fission. Gas turbine cars is being a good possible situation. Yeah. We had these interesting... if you're not aware, my day job is basically working as like combination engineer and drafter for a small manufacturing company. And we have these guys out in the shop doing welding and stuff like that. And it can get pretty cold. Even living here in Central Texas, it can get pretty dang cold in the winter. And living in Central Texas, we have all the moisture from the Gulf, so it actually feels extremely cold. So we've got these heaters out in the shop, and like some of them can burn just about anything. So it's like old motor oil, gasoline, diesel, it's all kinds of stuff like that. Like more information about. I don't know how many EVs there are in the Fallout series. I'm just trying to think of some of them. Think about that off the top of my head. Because I mean, like even things like solar and wind were very rarely used, from what I can tell. Like Helios 1 is a major solar project, but even then, it's not even what it seems. This whole thing here is like basically just a cover operation. And then the best representation we have of wind power. Do I not have the location on my map? No, seemingly I don't. I think it's to the northeast. Is the Southern Nevada Wind Farm? Is it? I think it's close to the El Dorado Gas and Service. Let's see. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Where is this place? I know it's somewhere east of Highway 95. It's been a little while. I talked about it when I was talking about Novak. Yeah, and speaking of 1 and 2, I need to actually start creating videos on those at some point. And so again, while I've got my current schedule out through May... Oh, there it is. I'm thinking in June I might do some sort of thing where it's like I've had a request for a while now to make a video that is like a introduction to the Fallout universe in 10 minutes. In the same way that I did an introduction to Fallout 76 in 10 minutes, so that people can learn the full story there without having to go through the full storyline. And so I'm definitely considering doing something like that, especially because you got people coming in for the Fallout TV show, and they're being introduced to it, into the universe, without actually understanding a lot of the stuff. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are confused, where they're like, wait, it's the 27... Why does everything look like it's the 1950s? It's the 2070s? So that's the sort of thing I'd be looking to answer there. Oop. Talk about the technology that's available. Basically, the transistor did exist, but it was much more recently invented, and much more of the time they were using things like vacuum tubes and stuff like that. Okay, let's see. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm not even going to play this character. To actually play it, but whatever. And it's one of those things where it's like... sure, purify or whatever. What I do is anytime my character needs a specific trait for like a specific quest or something like that, I just boost it. So it's like, I did that the other day when I was doing the slaver video, or slavery video, was when you have to use a repair skill to fix some wires in the box. That poison just keeps going off. But regardless, you have to use a repair skill to fix the wires within Paradise Falls, so that, what's his name, Squirrel, can get access to the system to turn off the collars and open the gates. Does it open the gates as well? I think it's... yes. And to do that, you have to have a repair skill that's high enough. I did not, because again, this character was like level 3 at the time. So I just go in and boost it, which is really easy to do. There we go. Let's do player dot... Well, first of all, let's take a look at it. Let's choose a skill here. Let's go with melee weapons, which I only have 20. Player dot mod av melee. Actually, don't know if melee weapons is going to be like this. Probably not. It's probably not got a space. Let's try that. Let's do 20. Let's see if that did it. Yep. So basically, mod av increases it by the amount that you put into that. So. Again, this is not a character where it's like, this is how I won the game, was by cheating. No, this is a character I used to film. So. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in learning, because Fallout 1 and 2 are... They obviously introduced everybody to the universe, but they're also some fairly significant differences between them and the later games. Now, I think that they probably have the most in common with 3 and New Vegas. More so with New Vegas than with 3, but even 3 is closer to them than it is to the later games. And the aesthetics are definitely one of the things that differentiates 4 and 76 from the rest. I mean, you get such different structures to the vaults. And along with that, I feel like the tone of the game kind of changes to an extent with 4 and 76. And honestly, it's one of those things that trying to put my thoughts together on this. I'm worried a little bit about the fact that Fallout 76 is a live service game. Not only because I don't like live service games in general, but simply because the nature of live service games means that they have to keep adding new content to the game. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so we found the first hidden enclave base beneath the White Spring Resort. That's great, because it's one of those things where it's like, historically speaking, there is literally a secret nuclear bunker beneath the White Spring. Well, in this case, in the real world, the Greenbrier Resort. So yes, absolutely, put an enclave bunker there. Yes. Then it's like, okay, we also found this this other site in the area. It's like, that wasn't ever mentioned when you were inside the main bunker. It's like, okay, all right, I can believe that there was maybe just one of those things where it's like 2 separate sites. They didn't want to share too much information, just in case one of them got overrun or something like that. Or you want to separate the cells so that these groups operate independently, and they don't try to like pool information, because you're trying to make sure that they are working towards different goals or working towards things from different directions and stuff like that. And then now, with the most recent release of content, it's like, and there's another hidden enclave. It's like, okay, at a certain point, there's like not going to be a square meter underground where there's not a hidden enclave base. So, good to see you, Samuel Castiglione. If I'm not mispronouncing that, I apologize for that. Well, I hope you get some good sleep. But, again, so my main concern with Fallout 76 going forward is, are they going to add basically too much content to that region of the world? And I would absolutely not have any problem. I've even talked about this before. I'd love it if they would expand the map. Oh, yeah, so if you're also in Italy, then it definitely makes sense you'd be going to sleep, because you're 6 hours ahead, something like that. But anyway. Have a good night. But I've talked about, it'd be great if they would add Mount Weather. It's another government into the world bunker. I would love to see them add that to the world. It makes complete sense to have another enclave bunker there. It is just, again, if they keep adding more and more stuff to the same chunk of Appalachia, it's starting to make me have some issues with that kind of thing. And from my understanding, everything in Fallout 76 is canon, so it's one of those things where it's like, this could end up being a problem over time. Let's see here, though. Do you think gas turbine cars would make sense in the Fallout universe? Probably initially. And so, this leads me to another thing that I haven't really talked about before, but in Fallout 76, you can find train cars full of coal, and it seems like coal was still being mined across Appalachia, which is weird, because like it's there's like entire things where like I feel like there's lore that like entire chunks of the country were basically going without power, and so it's like, okay, they had coal though, so I mean they may have been slow in expanding fusion, and fission, but like, why wouldn't they be using coal where they were literally running out of power? I get that there's issues with pollution, but at the same time, if you're like not having a hospital have power, how does that make sense to not use coal? But yeah, I would say potentially there would be something where early on in the crisis, the fuel crisis, it would make sense for them to try to introduce something like a gas turbine car, but I would bet that it'd be something that would not be a widespread sort of a thing. It'd be kind of interesting if it was like, if they added lore where it's like this little tiny company basically produced like a couple hundred effectively concept cars that would burn just about any fossil fuel, even something like coal tar or coal gas or something like that. But that would be interesting to see. Let's see. Yeah, with with 76, it's really hard to... Again, I don't know exactly how long they're planning to support the game. It seems to be doing basically as well as it always has, and in fact, perhaps growing a little bit over time. It's one of those things where I think 76 basically like started and then kind of dropped off significantly and then kind of had a build over time is how it's gone. But it's, again, I think it's a very short slope. I don't know. I've never seen the numbers, but just in terms of the way I've seen people kind of like talk about it, and the number of people I've seen talk about it and everything like that, it was something that it had a lot of hype when it first came out. There were a lot of people that were against it when it first came out because a lot of people were not looking for a live service Fallout game. I definitely, when they first announced it, was disappointed because I just wanted another single-player Fallout game. That being said, I absolutely love the world that they created, and it's definitely been an interesting experiment to see them create a multiplayer Fallout game to see how that would work.
Had enough.
Oh. Viper.
Had enough?
Whoa. That was a good shot. But yeah, I don't know how they're planning to end it at this point. It's one of those things where it's definitely a case where I'd like to see them eventually... Because it's one of those things where nothing lasts forever. So eventually they will shut down 76. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't think it's anytime soon. But when it does happen, I do hope that they will release basically a single-player or co-op version of it where you have like kind of a... I don't really know the term for it. It's not local co-op, but basically where you run a multiplayer server on your own computer. The same way you can do with things like Satisfactory and Valheim and stuff like that. To where you can potentially play co-op with like 3 or 4 other people on your computer. But I don't know what they're planning to do with the end of the story there. Like, I don't know if they're going to... there's several options. I think that the one that, to me, seems the most logical at this point, if they don't want to effectively have the story of 76 affect the rest of the Fallout universe in any way, they've kind of set up the ability for this to happen, to have a massive ultracite reaction, to where, if you don't know the lore of it, ultracite is a radioactive fuel material that was created in Appalachia before the bombs. They discovered it when they were doing atomic mining, and I don't think they've ever actually said exactly what it is. My belief in what it is that it's effectively radioactive coal, because the way that they call it ultracite, and then like you've got the, and again that's not necessarily saying anything because there's other minerals that have that, but if you're not aware of the way coal works, you've got basically the lowest level coal, and it's not even coal, but it's peat, which then over time and with pressure turns into lignite, which turns into bituminous coal, which turns into anthracite coal. Anthracite coal is the cleanest burning, and it also is the one that gives you the most amount of power because it's literally just compacted vegetal material that has eventually basically driven all of the water out of it, so it's almost just pure carbon. But my belief is that ultracite is somehow related to anthracite coal. I don't know if that's at all answered. My guess would be that there's probably some lore that I don't know that's come from the new content, simply because I haven't had the time to get into the new Gleaming Depths content, and given how much that's related to ultracite, I'm sure there's something there that I just haven't seen. But regardless, ultracite is again a fuel material, and it's extremely potent, but it is something that also, once it becomes depleted, it becomes something where it has almost an annihilation reaction with ultracite, with fully powered ultracite. So I would not be even slightly surprised if basically they put this in here as foreshadowing for an eventual destruction of all of Appalachia that will come when the ultracite that's in the ground has depleted to an extent to where there's suddenly a massive reaction between the two, and they just completely obliterate all of Appalachia with something that's like more powerful than anything that was experienced during the Great War. Let's see. Someone's making a Fallout Rome mod? That's interesting. I would like to see more countries outside the U.S. to see exactly what they were like if they shared the same sort of nostalgic culture, where they were like basically living in a terrible time, so they kind of looked back to when things seemed to be better. And so if you had something like that in Italy or something like that, of course, Italy, of course, has a completely different culture from the United States in the 1950s and 1960s. So it would be interesting to see exactly what they would come up with. It's going to be interesting to see an EV in the Fallout, what EVs look like. That's a good question. My guess would be that they would probably go for a lot of the same design characteristics that you see with EVs in the real world, which I mean, up until recently. I'm honestly not all that aware of exactly how they did build modern EVs in terms of like materials and stuff like that. Obviously, there's things like the Cybertruck, which is like a real outlier when it comes to EVs, but most of the time, historically speaking, I think the whole thing has been to try to build the car as light as possible in order to make sure that while you're carrying this enormously heavy battery, the rest of the car weighs as little as possible in order to get the most range out of the battery. But it's one of those things where, obviously this is not a proper EV, but they've got fission batteries in the Fallout universe. You see them more so in like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I don't even know if you see them all that much in Fallout New Vegas. They're used as a crafting material in Fallout 3. And my belief is that what these fission batteries are is literally just like a chunk of, I don't even know if it's uranium or if they got cobalt in there or something like that, but it is actually possible to create a nuclear battery in real life. And so you could potentially build an EV because you've got these batteries that are doing, it's like a thermal reaction that takes place, I believe, and they use these things on space probes all the time, to where you've got the exterior, which is space, which is either if you're in the sun, it's extremely hot, or if you're not in the sun, it's extremely cold. But if you've got, there's, I don't know the exact mechanics of it. I never really learned that in my physics classes, but there are materials that they've developed that basically generate electricity from temperature differentials. So you've got on the interior of this thing like a chunk of radioactive material that's hot, and on the outside is cold. So I think that it's like a radiothermal generator, and so I think that's what the fission batteries are. So again, not technically anything like a normal electric battery, to where you're actually just storing power using chemicals or lithium, things like that, lithium ions. I don't know if you would count that as an electric vehicle, but I could see them making a fission battery electric vehicle pretty easily. But in terms of like, I don't know, we do see some normal batteries in Fallout, especially in Fallout, no, you actually do see fission batteries in Fallout New Vegas. Let's see if we can go find one real quick. I know specifically where you can find a lot of them. Where I've got some in my mind. Let's see, here we go. Right there. That is a fission battery. They're powering this light post with that single fission battery right there. You see that here and there wherever they've basically tried to restore the power to these poles. Rather than trying to restore power to the entire network, they simply add a fission battery to these generators. Or to these lights, sorry. Let's see here. Yeah, no, I absolutely wish we had some more stuff with the Free States as well. We've seen something from, I think, every faction other than the Free States at this point. I do love how you can occasionally find stuff like this, where it's like, I don't even blame those guys, because the devs that were putting out New Vegas just because they were kind of rushed. And so it's not really that crazy to find something like that, where you've got this lamppost that's floating like a foot off the ground. Aerodynamics and weight are the biggest concerns of the EVs. The biggest thing that held EVs back through the 20th century was battery technology, which is, yeah, and they're still developing new batteries now. I've seen, so lithium batteries, if you're not aware, the reason that they're really expensive is because lithium is very expensive. Because it's not a terribly common material. It's not something that's like as rare as platinum, I wouldn't think. But it's definitely still something that is rare enough that it's expensive material. And I've heard them say, I've heard word that they're working on new battery forms that are actually even more efficient than lithium. And I've even heard of them using one that actually just uses iron, which would be incredible if they can actually do just like an iron battery. I don't know, I do not know anything about how that works, but yeah, that would be, it's going to be interesting to see where things go, because for the longest time, I basically thought that EVs would not be the future, and not specifically because I was thinking that gas cars forever, but I was figuring that at some point we would really see a revolution to where the entire power grid would be nuclear powered, or hydroelectric, or solar where it made sense, and that effectively vehicles would all be run off of hydrogen. And I think that that's still going to be the case in a lot of things. Specifically, I think hydrogen makes a lot more sense for planes. if you're not aware of the power requirements for planes, there's a reason that solar-powered planes are very rare or very small, typically one-person planes. I've seen some where they've actually put solar panels on the wings of these things, but yeah, they do not operate very well, and it's one of those things where it's like obviously not going to fly very well at night. Obviously, if we're talking about just a generally like electric plane, you can of course put batteries on that thing, but batteries, like I said, are very heavy, and fuel is also obviously very heavy, but I think the batteries are heavier. But yeah, I would not be at all surprised to see if hydrogen planes become a thing going forward. But my main point here was, like, I was for a long time thinking that you would not see electric cars get to where they've gotten, but the advances in battery technology and electric cars have actually outperformed where I thought they would get to. So it's been impressive to see. Like, the Tesla, for example, is very, very... They've got some very impressive vehicles. Well, it's been about an hour. Anybody have any comments or questions, anything like that? Any requests for specific videos? Well, hold on here for another few minutes until... just in case anybody else have anything you want to see. Again, because what I'm looking to do in June, because again, I've got things laid out basically through May. June, again, like I said, I'm going to look to do something like a 10-minute video to explain some of the basics about the Fallout universe, because obviously 10 minutes is nowhere near enough time to really get into Fallout detail. Oop, meant to disarm that. But, you know, just the basics. Explain why it is that the culture is what it is, and so that kind of stuff. No. I will have a video released on Valentine's Day, but Vault 11 is not really a Valentine's topic. But, yeah. If you've got any other suggestions, because again, I've laid out specific games for specific months, but June is where I'm looking to do kind of more broad videos, or I can even do like a viewer request video sort of a thing. So, let's see. I think the best route would be hydrogen for aircraft, yeah. These nuclear power plants for larger ships, yes. Okay, if you're not aware, there were at least a couple of nuclear-powered cargo ships that were built back in the 60s, 50s and 60s. And it's one of those things where it's like, these things, like, literally, cargo ships burn so much diesel fuel, and they managed to put one of these ships together where they put a couple of cargo ships together where they just use nuclear power, and they saved so much in the way of fuel. And it's one of those things where it's like, people underestimate how ridiculously efficient nuclear power is, that these ships, they burned so little fuel. Unfortunately, I don't know what's up with the Germans. Like, the Germans had a nuclear power program, the Germans had a nuclear-powered cargo ship, and then they brought it back and they converted it to using diesel. And now the Germans are tearing down all their nuclear power plants to burn lignite, which, if you're unaware, lignite is the dirtiest form of coal outside of peat, which again is not even coal. But literally it's the one that produces the most soot, the most airborne contaminants. And they're literally tearing up like ancestral villages with giant diggers, but they're like, oh, this is for the environment. No more nuclear power, all lignite. It's like, what? And again, it's the same thing with their cargo ship, where they took away the nuclear power and replaced it with diesel. And it's like, how... And I think that it's one of those things where maybe living in the U.S., I don't have the same level of fear that people had from Chernobyl, because there absolutely is something where if you've got hogs running around feral in your forest that have residue from Chernobyl in them still today, then yeah, I get it. I don't have that experience, but at the same time, it's like, Chernobyl was, if you actually study it, a ridiculously preventable thing that happened there, where the plant didn't need to go up the way it did. They didn't need to build the plant the way they did. They could have done it where it was actually safe. They didn't need to do the testing the way they did it, it was just a calamity of errors that all came together to make Chernobyl happen the way it happened. But anyway, yeah, it drives me crazy. All cargo ships should probably be nuclear powered at this point. Anyway, though, I mean, you see that the way we've been doing nuclear powered submarines since the 1950s. We've got nuclear powered aircraft carriers. And yeah, I get that you might even be concerned about something like, oh, well, what happens if pirates capture a nuclear-powered cargo ship, you can make it so that the reactor is a self-contained unit that you can probably even drop out of the bottom of the ship, to where it's, again, not contaminating anything around it, but it goes down to the bottom. Yeah, no, Chernobyl was caused by the Soviets being the Soviets. That's absolutely the case. And I know that the Chernobyl TV show on HBO is not 100% historically accurate, but if you watch that, you get a full idea of what exactly happened there, to where they basically screwed up the test ridiculously, and they also did not properly shield the reactor in the same way that we shield reactors here in the United States. It's just, and California also getting rid of all their nuclear power drives me crazy. Especially when they're facing brownouts every summer. I don't understand the thought process there at all. But yes, nuclear-powered cargo ships across the board. But anyway, again, anybody have any more comments, questions? Again, if you keep in mind, again, in June I'm going to be looking to do at least a couple videos, and one of them will probably be some sort of viewer request. So if you have something you'd like to see covered that I wouldn't typically cover, think about it. Make a request, maybe next week. We'll see. But again, things to look forward to next week: 3 videos. A video on Vault 11. Yes, I am 100% pro-nuclear. EV, I'm mixed on at the moment. I would like to see that they could do it without using cobalt and lithium in the batteries, just because of the what's currently happening with cobalt mining and everything like that. But good to see you, Ruth Quick. Thank you for coming to the stream. Good to see you, Goodman. And I just realized, I hope I didn't offend you too much there, because I know you're German, but but I do not understand your country's nuclear policy. I'm really glad you like the videos. But yeah, so again, next week, Vault 11 video. I'm also going to do a channel update and the first video covering the Dragon Age series. And then I will figure out over the next few days what other video I'm going to cover, what other topic I'm going to cover here in Fallout New Vegas, whether it's going to be 188 Trading Post or Boulder City. So, hey David Eduardo. Getting ready to close things out here, actually. I don't know. I'd have to look into... again, I have not looked deeply into a lot of the modern electric cars, but I think a lot of them do use cobalt, which a lot of the time is currently coming from basically conflict zones, or where it's not being mined in at all an ethical manner. Like, we're talking child slaves and stuff like that, so... Yeah, and there is cobalt that's available, and it's difficult to get in places that have environmental regulations like we have here. So, yeah, unfortunately a little late. But again, so yeah, that's what you look forward to in the coming week. Again, one more Fallout New Vegas video this month after that, and then again Fallout 4 the month after that. So again, probably tomorrow I'm going to end up... Oh, got some... Sorry, I'm trying to understand what you're saying there. Jeremy, Red Z-Man Zimmerman. Good to see you, Ezekiel McGee. Thanks for coming by. I've got some of the convo, but I guess I'm not able to get my posts up. Huh. I'm not sure what you mean. But yeah, again, so... think about what you'd like to see in June. If you'd like to see something specific, you can, of course, make a request, and we'll see about that. I'll try to do a viewer request in June along with that. Oh, put up that it'd be hydrogen fuel cells in use. Yeah, no. Sorry, I didn't see that up above. Yet, I would absolutely love to see more hydrogen used in vehicles. Especially because I've seen some interesting stuff with that, where they've made hydrogen safer to use in vehicles. So, but yeah, I think we'll close things out here. I hope that everybody has had a good week, that you all have a good weekend, and I will see you all next Friday after the release of the Vault 11 video. And yeah, have a good weekend, y'all.